Hello learners, in this video I am going to discuss a poem, A Song for Saint Cecilia's Day 1687, written by John Dryden. It is prescribed in the syllabus for BA second semester, paper first by Kumaon University. In this video I will be giving a brief introduction of the poet, the background of the poem, and stanza-wise explanation of the poem, and finally the critical analysis of the poem. So here I go. Let's start with the brief introduction of the poet. John Dryden was an English poet, critic and playwright active in the second half of the 17th century. He was born on 19th August 1631 in Northamptonshire, England. Over the span of nearly 40 years, he dabbled in a wide range of genres to great success and acclaim. As a poet, he is best known as a satirist and was England's first poet laureate in 1668. In addition to satires, he wrote odes, panegyrics, elegies, etc., and also wrote plays throughout 1670s and was at the forefront of Restoration drama. His prose work, An Essay of Dramatic Poesy, is a seminal work in English literary criticism, and Dr. Samuel Johnson called him the father of English criticism. Thus, Dryden was a dominant literary figure of the Restoration period to such a point that the period came to be known as the Age of Dryden. Now let's start with the poem. The title of the poem refers to Saint Cecilia. Cecilia was a noble lady of Rome, born around 200 or 230 AD. According to the story, despite her vow of virginity, she was forced by her parents to marry a pagan nobleman, Valerian. During the wedding ceremony, Cecilia sat apart, singing to God in her heart, which earned her the title of Patroness of Musicians. Later in life, Cecilia, her husband, along with his brother, were beheaded, and thus Saint Cecilia became an early Christian martyr. Several churches were built in her honor in Rome, and the first record of a music festival in her honor was held in Normandy in 1570. From 1683 to 1703, November 22nd was celebrated as Saint Cecilia's Day. The present poem, A Song for Saint Cecilia's Day, was composed by Dryden in 1687. The poem consists of 7 stanzas and a grand chorus. It describes the involvement of music in both the making of the universe and the subtleties of human emotions. So now let's start with poem. In stanza 1, an unnamed speaker opens the poem by describing how the world was created by a certain kind of heavenly harmony. The universe existed in a form of scattered atoms, and it was summoned to existence by music. That means the universe was not in a proper form or structure. Everything was scattered, and it came into its proper form by the power of music. There was some heavenly music, and by the harmony of that music, everything came into its proper form and structure. Cold, hot, moist, and dry, they took their places by obeying the power of music. And thus, this scattered universe came into beautiful existence by the power of music. And it is after the creation of universe, the man was created. In stanza 2, the speaker describes the power of music to inspire passion by giving an example of Jubal, the very first musician mentioned in the Old Testament of the Bible. When Jubal introduced music to his peers, They felt that something heavenly or godlike existed within the sounds that they heard. The power of his instruments moved the heart of his listeners. Thus, music can raise and quell even those emotions which passion cannot. So in this stanza, the speaker says, when the first time people, when they heard the music, when Jubal played his instruments, they felt it divine, they felt it is something celestial or godlike, and it touched the heart of the people, and it raised their emotions, and it is to such an extent like it was more powerful than passion. That music is more powerful than passion. Music can raise even those emotions which passion cannot raise. Now moving to the third stanza, the poet talks about the two musical instruments, trumpet and drum. He says that the sound of trumpet, the loud clangor, that means the sound of trumpet moves soldiers to take up their arms, and the thundering beats of drum alert the soldiers to be ready for the battle. The beats of drum remind them that it is not a time to retreat but be ready because enemies are near. So in this stanza, the speaker describes the trumpets and drums' quality to inspire military anger. In the next stanza, the poet or the speaker talks about flute and lute. It describes the ability of flute and lute to inspire melancholy of hopeless lovers. The dying notes of flute or the notes of flute, they express the feelings of hopeless lovers. In the next stanza, the speaker talks about the diversity of strong emotions which a violin can proclaim. The sharp notes of violin describes the strong or expresses the strong emotions like jealousy, fury, anger, pain, passion of a lover for his disdainful beloved. In the next stanza, stanza 6, the speaker describes the ability or capability of organ. Organ is a big musical instrument which is also sometimes known as the king of musical instruments. He says, or the speaker says, that organ has capacity to outstrip the power of human voice, because human voice can be heard only in earth, but he says that the voice or the music of organ can even reach up to heaven. It can reach up to heaven and mend the choirs above. Mend the choirs above means choir is a group of people who sing together. So the choir of angels who continuously sing praises to God, even if they are making any mistake in their singing, the notes of the organs from earth can reach up to heaven and correct their notes. So the organ, this musical instrument is so powerful, or its music is so powerful or so superior that it can even reach up to heaven. Now in stanza 7, we see that there is a description of Orpheus, a poet and musician from Greek mythology, who led the animals and birds or savage race by the power of his music. Orpheus used to play lyre. In the image you can see there is a lyre, a kind of instrument which he used to play, and it is said that Orpheus could lead animals and birds and the savage race by his music, by the music of his lyre. And it was so melodious that even trees unrooted and followed the music of his lyre. But the speaker argues that the power or the music of Saint Cecilia's organ is more superior than the music of Orpheus' lyre. Again, the reason is that the music of lyre can be heard by the savage race on earth only. That means it can influence only earthly things. But the speaker says the music of the organ played by Saint Cecilia, it is so divine, it is so powerful, so superior that even angels, they appear before her, mistaking earth for heaven. So we see that from stanza 3 to stanza 6, the speaker tells about the different musical instruments and their ability to raise human emotions. And in stanza 7, the speaker compares the music of Orpheus and the music of Saint Cecilia's organ, and he says that the music of Saint Cecilia, like the organ which she played, it was so musical that even angels appeared before her. So we can say that the music is not only confined to earth. Here the speaker gives the quality of music that it can even move beyond earth. It can even, from earth, it can even reach up to heaven. Now, moving to the last chorus, that is the grand chorus which closes the poem. Here there is a description of the last day of the earth. According to the Bible, there would be apocalypse, that means the final destruction of the world. And here the speaker imagines that when that day will come, that is the last day of the world, when this world will be destructed, the spheres will sing praise to God, the great creator, that means the Christian God. The spheres will sing praises to the Christian God, and there would be the sound of trumpet as a signal of apocalypse. That means when that day of destruction will be there, it will come, there would be a sound of trumpet. The speaker imagines an apocalypse in which music will untune the sky and the laws of this world will be reversed. That means when that music will be heard, the sound of trumpet will be heard, and there would be destruction of the world, all the things will be scattered again. The laws of the world will be reversed. For example, the second last line, the dead shall live, the living die. That means the laws of this world will be reversed and everything will be scattered again. So we see the poem which began with the description of the making of the universe in the first stanza. It ends with the prophecy by John Dryden, and it refers to the biblical prophecy as well, that the world will be destroyed, and again it will be by the power of music. So we see that the poem is about music, or it celebrates different properties of music. It is not so much about Saint Cecilia as it is an ode to music. One attribute of this poem that makes it so unique is its scale. Anchored by a specific event, that is Saint Cecilia's Day, the poem expands to a broader theme of music itself and connects earth and heaven. So now let's talk about literary elements of the poem. The theme of the poem we can see is music, of course religion and cosmology. As I have just said, that the poem is not only confined to earth. It had the power of music, as we see, has capacity to go beyond the earth, and even it reaches up to heaven. So the theme of the music is, as we can see, the music definitely, and there is religious theme as well, as the poem is written on the day of Saint Cecilia, for Saint Cecilia's day, and there are so many biblical references as well, and cosmology. Now let's talk about form and meter. So there are 7 stanzas with grand chorus, and there is no fixed meter throughout the poem. The poem is written in iambic pentameter, tetrameter, trimeter. That means in different stanzas the meter is different. So we can say that there is a mixed meter, and even the rhyming scheme is mixed. Talking about metaphor and similes, so throughout the poem we see that music is compared to speech acts. For example, it is compared to military commands in stanza 1st and 3rd, to complaints and elegies in stanza 4, and to proclamations in stanza 5. And it is also compared to winged creatures in stanza 6. Then there is allusions from the Bible and Greek mythology. Like we can see the character of Jubal, it is from Bible. Orpheus is from the Greek mythology, and the reference of Apocalypse and the great creator is again from the Bible. And finally, talking about alliteration and assonance. So first let us understand what is alliteration. Alliteration is the repetition of usually initial consonant sounds in 2 or more neighboring words or syllables. That means repetition of initial consonant sounds. For example, you can see in the very first line, from harmony, from heavenly harmony. So we see there is alliteration or the repetition of ha sound. The first sound, ha, harmony, from heavenly, again harmony. So there is repetition of ha sound. And there is consonance as well. That is repetition of consonant sounds within a group of words. That is within a group. In alliteration, it is usually initial consonant, and in consonance there is repetition within a group of words. The repetition of consonant within a consonant sound. Again, it is not about consonant letter. It is repetition of consonant sound within a group of words. For example, we in the same line we can see there is repetition of ra sound in whole sentence, like from harmony, from heavenly harmony. So again and again there is repetition of ra, ra, ra. Then again in universal ra, frame, ra. So there is repetition of ra sound. And then in the next line here I have given example of and could not heave her head. So again heave her head. There is repetition of her sound, alliteration of her. That spoke so sweetly and so well. So again repetition of sa sound. So throughout the poem we can see there is alliteration, there is consonance, and there is also assonance, that is repetition of a vowel sound in a phrase or sentence. For example, in this line, of the thundering drum. So there is assonance of the short sound. So here we have completed this poem, A Song for Saint Cecilia's Day. I hope you understood this poem. So have a nice time all of you. Thank you.